Just saying to Grant, I can already see the title, goaltending. Something very uncommon. Portland by 6, and Dame just continues to separate himself. I was just saying to G, how about the Dookie and Gary Trent with 22, 8 of 11? But here we go. Zeke, we've seen a lot of this down the stretch of games. Dame just takes over.
Yeah, he's capable of taking over, beating you in so many ways. You're really afraid of his three-point shot, which opens up the driving lane. And early on in his career, he wouldn't drive the basketball as often, but he's taking it to the hole. And as we see Duncan miss the three-point shot, Dragic gets another one. But as we'll see, someone's going to come up with the big rebound.
And flex.
And
the first
flex.
2 didn't count, Zeke. Third time was the charm.
Yeah, that's right. Got to see the flex, Grant. We got to see the flex.
Grant, don't break that jacket.
I'm losing my breath.
Don't break that medium. Don't break that medium. We talk about upper echelon. Everybody wants to rank everything. We got Seku's MVP letter here, and everybody's voting for all sorts of different things. How much, if you go back a calendar year, we knew Dame was a great player, has been a long time, G. But you go through how he was in the postseason, that series which kind of upped him even more against Westbrook in that spot against the Thunder. Then you kind of take it to where we are this year with what's happened in this stretch. How much closer is he to the very tippity top in terms of best players in the game right now for you?
Well, for a player who's been in the league for a while, I think that, and certainly what you're saying over the course of the last year, if you go back to this time last year, I think you've seen improvement. You've seen him last year sort of willing his team, getting them to the conference finals. His play as of late been on an absolute tear. I think the only thing that sort of hurts him, and this goes back to a conversation we've had over the last couple of weeks, how do you judge players on their greatness? Yeah. It's their record this year. Granted, they've had a tremendous amount of injuries and struggles early on in the season, not his fault. But the team, 4 games behind 500 certainly hurts the conversation. But with that said, I don't know if there's a point guard outside of LeBron James who is having a better season right now. And he was always that sort of, he was an all-star, but, was he a second-tier all-star? He's a first-tier all-star right now, the way he's been playing, and particularly the way he's been playing over the course of the last month.
Yeah, it's ironic because on his team, Zeke, as we know, Melo up there in terms of all-time towards the end of games, big shots. We've got big shot makers. Kyrie, of course, everybody remembers his in the finals. When you look at closers now, down the stretch of games, everything on the line, has he become maybe the best closer in the game of basketball today?
It's debatable who's the best, but he's in the discussion. And when you say why is he in the discussion, is because what we just witnessed tonight. As I said, early in his career, I thought he settled too much and depended too much on his jump shot. And he didn't get to the basket enough, and he wasn't going to the basket enough, so therefore he was easier to play. I think his understanding of the game, his maturity of the game, and his preparation, as he talked about, he's become more of a student of the game. And what he said in that interview really let me know that he's become more of a student of the game, because he talked about understanding weak side defense. And, a defense is only as good as your weak side can help and recover. And as an offensive player, you're always playing against your defender, but the player that you're really trying to beat and control is that weak side defense that comes over to help and have to recover. And if you can control the weak side defender, knowing what he or she may do on the weak side, then you got a chance to play. And Dame right now is really understanding how to control those weak side defenders so he can get to the basket and he can make plays.
Everybody talked about it, and obviously a big story that Melo's part of this team. But can we talk Trevor Ariza? Because
absolutely.
This guy,
somebody drafted him.
That's right.
How does he end up in a spot where you kind of like, again, on the Rockets, when they were as close can be, CP3 injury doesn't happen, et cetera, gone, right? Now, if you forget, he's in Phoenix. People forgot where he was. How is he not a guy everybody wanted? 7 of 10, 21 points, 4 of 5 from 3, brings it defensively every night, the energy. What kind of a difference maker can he be should they get into the playoffs on the back end of the conference, G?
You know, he's a guy on a playoff team that's just spectacular. I mean, he does his role. He stars in his role. He can hit and knock down threes. He knows how to play the game. He gets after it and defends. But he's a great teammate. You know, he's a glue guy. And so he you know, you talk about 3-and-D, you talk about glue. I mean, he does all of that. He fits in nicely. He understands who he is, and he plays within himself. And so, you know, I mean, he's won a championship, obviously, with the Lakers. And but when you put him on a team that has players around him and a team that's in the playoff picture, he's a great addition. And his stuff, you know, obviously the box score today had a great game.
He played 39 minutes.
Played 39 minutes, but he's just one. He's a winner. You know, he's a winner, and he's a guy that is a great teammate. And I love that he's still out there showing his value and doing what he's been doing throughout most of his career.
You know, to me, he's the closest thing that I've seen to come into the league since Shane Battier. And Shane Battier, to me, is one of the greatest winners in our sport. But he doesn't get the credit for it because, you know, he just doesn't, you know, he's not a glamour guy. But Shane won in high school, Shane won in college, and it's no surprise that he won in the NBA. Now, I don't know if Trevor won in high school, and I don't know if he won in college. But when I looked at him and I was drafting him, I said, this is a winner, and this is a guy who can play championship basketball. And not many people, as you know, Grant, can play championship basketball and perform under pressure, make plays under pressure, but more importantly, listen to what the coach has to say or diagram it on the board and then walk out on the floor and execute it. A lot of the players can listen and see what's on the board and then the whistle blow and they go crazy. You know, it's like they lose their mind. But Trevor was one of those guys, and I tell a lot of players that I've coached or that I drafted, if you want to emulate anybody as a basketball player, you're never going to be a Grant Hill. You're never going to be, you know, a Michael Jordan or anything like that. But if you can be a Shane Battier, which Trevor Ariza right now is the closest thing to a Shane Battier that I've seen in this league, where everywhere he goes, he's impactful, he makes a difference, and he wins. Shane Battier for the Miami Heat, that deciding game, who stepped out on the floor and knocked down, 5 threes or 6 threes? I mean, it was Shane Battier. Shane Battier was the difference in that game that they beat the San Antonio Spurs for the championship. He was the difference, and Trevor Ariza is that kind of difference maker on the basketball team.
The time of my year, we've officially hit the limit of the amount of nice things about people from Duke we're allowed to say with Grant here and make it look unbiased. We got more.